Before we go further on with meditation number 9, I wanted to say a few words about mindfulness. Mindfulness has become a very popular word these days. The reason for that is that science has been working on looking and investigating meditation for many years now, about 3 decades. And what they have found recently is that the practice of mindfulness can be very effective at helping with certain healthcare issues. So, for example, people who have depression can be helped by mindfulness training. People who have addictions, and in my personal experience with students, I have one student who was suffering from an autistic disorder, who was very greatly helped by mindfulness meditation. Another person who knew that they were dying. They were on a waiting list for an organ transplant. They were helped by mindfulness to pass peacefully. Unfortunately, the organ didn't turn up. And also people who have had cancer or are working with cancer treatment and need to reduce their stress level. Having cancer can be quite stressful. So mindfulness has become a very popular word. The mindfulness training that is done is basically focusing on stress reduction and getting to understand why you're addicted or why you're depressed, and it gets at the root of some of that. But in actual fact, mindfulness in its form was invented or first appeared about 2,500 years ago. And when the Buddha first came up with the concept of mindfulness, he taught about it in four components. One was becoming mindful of the body, and that's the breathing exercise. And then beyond that, there are other components of that too. And then looking at feelings, your emotions, and then things like your hindrances, those things that are holding you back from being the person that you would like to be or you were intended to be. And the basic concept of mindfulness, as was taught in that school of meditation, is that we need to be mindful of the fact that those things like emotions, anger, sadness, all of those things, feelings, all of those things are not us, and that we are greater than the sum of our parts. So all those little parts, we can recognize them, and that's part of mindfulness, is recognizing them, naming them, labeling them, as we've talked about before in earlier meditations. But eventually starting an investigation as to why they have a hold on you, and letting yourself let go so that you're no longer clinging to those. I had a student once, she was from a communist country, and when I was talking to her, I was telling her that these things, these thoughts, these emotions, these feelings, they're not her, and that she can change that. And it was a huge revelation to her. The brainwashing that she'd gone through convinced her that there was only one way of thinking that was right, and it was the way that that particular government organization wanted her to think. And so mindfulness leads to freeing the mind. Anyway, as we go on, I'll make other comments on mindfulness, and there'll be more details. But we're now going to go ahead with meditation number 9.